Have you ever wondered, in the quiet moments amidst the hustle and bustle of life, whether it is God who is sending you a message, through your thoughts, through the gentle whispers in your mind? Pause and listen, because he does not only speak to pastors or prophets in the renowned stories of the Bible, but he also speaks to you, even when you do not realize it. Perhaps you have imagined that the voice of God only resounds in dramatic moments like the thunderous voice or Moses' burning bush, or like Paul's unexpected encounter on the road to Damascus. But the truth is that God often chooses to communicate so gently that if you do not pay attention, you might miss that divine invitation. In a world full of distractions, doubts, and the noise of modern life, we often overlook the subtle signs he gives, the whispers in the heart, the feelings of peace, wisdom, or even a gentle warning, all coming from him and not from ourselves. Through the journey of seeking faith and my own experiences after many years of study, I have realized that recognizing the voice of God is not simply about waiting for spectacular manifestations, but also about the ability to deeply listen to the signals through the mind, through gentle thoughts and feelings, because each of those whispers contains the presence of the Creator, calling us to live a meaningful life, filled with love and forgiveness. Imagine when you take a little time each day to be still, to open your heart and receive the thoughts that come from deep within you, you will realize that this is his voice, not the resounding sounds from heaven, but a gentle yet powerful guidance, woven from life experiences, from the teachings of the Bible, and from the personal experiences that I and countless other believers have witnessed. And by the end of this message, I believe that you will gain clarity, that God does not merely exist as a distant concept, but he always communicates directly with you, through his word, through people, through specific circumstances, and most importantly, through your own mind, if you know how to listen. Be ready to open your heart, because every thought, every feeling can be a divine invitation, a sign of wisdom, peace, and a warning from the Creator, meant to guide you on the path of truth, of love, and of unwavering faith. And so, let this message be the beginning of the journey to seek deep communication with God, so that you never again have to doubt that he is speaking to you, but instead, you will know how to recognize and live according to that divine calling. Under the light of faith and the illumination from the Bible, we gradually realize that in the journey of seeking divine guidance, distinguishing between the voice of God, the voice of the enemy, and the spontaneous thoughts from the human mind is no small challenge, but also a sacred process that helps us mature in faith, spirit, and character. When we listen, we realize that every thought, every emotion originates from three different sources. The first is the voice of God, which is always built on the foundation of truth, compassion, and peace. The second is the voice of the enemy, sown by the devil through lies, fear, and distraction, making our minds chaotic and full of confusion. And the third is our own voice, sometimes created by temporary emotions, personal desires, or thoughts reflecting human instincts that always change according to circumstances. In the process of facing those thoughts, we need to seriously ask ourselves, does this thought align with the word that God has given? Does it bring peace and encourage faith? Or is it merely fragmented and chaotic emotions of the mind? Such questions help us clearly discern that when we feel a deep peace, an unshakable faith, or an overwhelming sense of love and forgiveness, that must be the voice of God, a divine calling inviting us to walk the path of truth and compassion. Indeed, as affirmed in the Bible, your word is truth, and you always guide those who seek. Psalm 119, verse 105. And when we compare it to thoughts that do not bring peace, but instead bring fear, anxiety, and negative words, we gradually realize that those things do not come from God, but are the voice of the enemy, the sounds of division and spiritual violence. I recall a time when faced with a major life decision, my mind was in turmoil with conflicting thoughts. Sometimes I felt light, peaceful, as if there was a gentle calling inviting me to move forward. But other times it was full of accusations, harsh criticisms that made me feel not good enough, not worthy. That was the voice of the enemy, of dark spirits and of doubt. But after pouring all my mind into prayer, listening to the teachings of the Bible, and seeking guidance from people with strong faith, I gradually realized that my own voice is often influenced by fleeting emotions, personal desires, and sometimes by harsh self-judgment without forgiveness, whereas the voice of God always leads toward sincerity, love, and guides people to freedom, to steadfast faith. And through those experiences, I believe even more that distinguishing the three origins of thought is not only a lesson in spiritual awareness, but also a journey to understand human nature. That we are inherently created to live in the light of love, of forgiveness, and of faith, not to be attached to negative emotions and the threatening lies from the enemy. When we know that every thought, every emotion can be seen as a subtle signal sent by God, we will learn how to test each of those signals by comparing them to the teachings of the Bible. If a thought contradicts His word, if it does not bring comfort, if it makes us feel stuck and anxious, then that is a sign showing that it is not His voice, but could be the voice of the enemy, or simply the voice of human instinct. In such moments, the wisdom given to us is to ask, is this the word of the Lord? Does it heal my heart, help me get closer to forgiveness and compassion? Those self-reflections, though simple, bring tremendous strength because they gradually help us build an internal benchmark from which we can distinguish between comforting, guiding words from God and thoughts that are merely fleeting echoes of the mind. When we tell ourselves, I only want to hear the voice of the Creator, only want to trust in His word, then in our minds will gradually form a space of stillness, where all the noise of the world is eliminated, leaving behind a rustic, pure atmosphere, where the divine voice of God can resound clearly. I have gone through times when my mind seemed to be engulfed in chaos, times when all thoughts became blurry and mixed up, but as long as I paused, as long as I opened my heart to listen, then gradually I realized that there was a gentle, soothing voice saying, trust in me, walk on the path of light. And that voice helped me overcome the hardest times of my life. Along with that, the distinction between the voice of God and the voice of the enemy is also shown through the feelings they bring. The voice of God always comes with comfort, with unshakable faith and the gentleness of a caring father, while the voice of the enemy evokes fear, insecurity, and a sense of isolation, making us feel that we are alone and unworthy of love. Those experiences have been recorded through many words of the Bible, like the teaching in Psalm 34:18. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit, reminding us that when we listen to His voice, all pain and wounds of the soul will be healed. In contrast, if we let the voices of doubt, criticism, and fear take over our minds, we only fall deeper into the trap of despair and lose our faith. And through that, we further recognize the importance of maintaining a pure soul, always ready to receive the guidance of God. That not only requires daily spiritual training through prayer, meditation, and reading the Bible, but also requires courage to face ourselves, to dare to acknowledge negative thoughts, chaotic emotions, and then slowly learn to let them go to make room for the light of love and forgiveness. Through each trial, through each moment of listening, we gradually learn that distinguishing between the voice of God, the voice of the enemy, and our own voice is not an easy task, but it is the key to opening the door to a fulfilling life, a life in which faith, forgiveness, and love always lead us through all difficulties. And so each of us, each believer on the journey of seeking truth, must equip ourselves with spiritual ears, an ability to recognize the subtle signs of the divine voice, knowing that every thought, every emotion is a gift, a sign that God wants to give us so that we can live true to the mission He has blessed us with. When we truly know how to listen, when we can distinguish which is His voice, we will not only feel comforted and guided in every step, but also realize that even failures, difficulties, or stumbles in life are precious lessons that help us grow, help us understand that in every circumstance, God is always present, always ready to give us strength and faith to overcome all challenges. Therefore, we should always remember that distinguishing the three origins of thought is not only a lesson in spiritual awareness, but also a reminder that no matter how many temptations life may bring, no matter how much foreign voices try to blur the light of the soul, Only the voice of God can bring us freedom, peace, and eternal hope. And when we dare to face, dare to ask questions, dare to examine every thought through the lens of the Bible and of noble values, we will gradually build a clear mind, a pure heart, and a spirit that constantly grows, ready to receive the blessings from the Creator. Through that, not only is each individual empowered, but the entire community of believers will also become stronger, more united, and always shining under the light of love and sincere faith. And in that very process, we realize that listening to the voice of God is not only a spiritual act, but also an art of living. An art that requires perseverance, humility, and boundless gratitude for the good things He has given us. With every step, with every thought, and every decision made after a process of self-reflection and testing, we become more certain that in this life, nothing is more precious than living according to God's Word, living on the path of truth, compassion, and unconditional love. And so, every time we sit quietly, every time we take time to reflect on life's values, we will feel that within every person there always exists a divine companion. It is the voice of God, always reminding us of the source of life, of the beautiful things, and of the hope to overcome all difficulties. Those experiences, though difficult to put into words, clearly show that distinguishing between His voice, the voice of the enemy, and our own voice is necessary for us to live a fulfilling life. A life not only based on fleeting emotions, but also grounded on the solid foundation of faith and understanding. And finally, in that challenging journey, let us always remember that every thought, every emotion, no matter how small, carries within it a sacred meaning if we know how to listen, if we know how to place our trust in the source of love and forgiveness. Therefore, let each day that passes be a day we become more sensitive to the voice of God, so that every decision, whether big or small, is blessed by divine guidance, and so that every step we take always bears the imprint of faith, forgiveness, and the boundless love that only He can give. Through that, not only is each individual matured, but the entire community of believers will always remain strong, united, and full of hope. Because within each person always exists a small light, a divine calling that always leads, always encourages, and always invites us to live true to the mission we have been given. And so, in every moment of life, amidst countless temptations, amidst conflicting voices, and amidst the noise of the world, only the voice of God is the source of inspiration, the torch that guides us through every storm and leads us toward a future full of hope and perfect love. When we recall the great stories of the Bible and deeply feel the divine presence through each human experience, we see that the specific illustrations are not only tales of the past, but also vivid lessons that help us realize that the guidance of God is always present through all ages, from the very beginning of creation to this very day. Imagine Samuel, a humble boy, sitting at the feet of the elder Eli when the voice of the Lord was not heard through the noise of the world, but through gentle whispers, leaving the young boy confused and unaware that it was in fact a divine calling. "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening," as a beginning of a life blessed and nurtured by sincere faith. That story teaches us that even when we are immature, God always finds a way to communicate with us through subtle words, requiring us to listen, to focus entirely in order to recognize those signals. Next, we remember Joseph, the son who was given prophetic dreams. Dreams not only predicting the future, but also containing profound messages from the Creator, foretelling great events and guiding the path we should take. When Joseph interpreted Pharaoh's dreams, it was not because he dreamed himself, but because God had conveyed to him a vision, a map leading through times of famine and hardship, thereby reminding us that each dream, each vision may carry a teaching from God if we know how to open our hearts and listen. It does not stop there. The story of Paul, from one clinging to tradition to an apostle of faith, clearly illustrates the miraculous transformation when God used the Holy Spirit to bring him out of the dark path of doubt and violence, guiding him through the light of love and forgiveness, when an experience on the road to Damascus made him fall down. And in that quiet moment, the voice of the Lord rang out, affirming that faith is not just a promise of the past, but a living call in every present moment. That story teaches us not only about the powerful transformation of the soul, but is also living proof that no matter how many dead ends and hardships a person has gone through, the voice of God always leads us to spiritual rebirth and steadfast belief. In modern times, when life is busy and modern technology seems to sweep us into a virtual spatial world, there are still believers who find comfort and divine guidance through deeply inspiring personal experiences. For example, a friend of mine said that, while facing a major decision, when everything around seemed blurry and worries overwhelmed him, a feeling of peace suddenly flooded his mind, like a reminder saying, "Trust, move forward." And that not only helped him regain confidence, but also opened a door leading to wiser, more correct decisions. It is precisely such experiences that prove that, even if time changes, even if technology develops, the voice of God, the voice that leads with sincerity, gentle yet full of power, still always exists and has the power to touch the very depths of every soul. The stories of the Bible are not just ancient tales, but are reenacted through every ordinary story of the faithful, through the silent moments when we face fear, loneliness, or difficult decisions. When it is precisely in those moments, if we dare to listen, we will realize that there is always a divine meeting point awaiting, where the call of God never fades, always echoing through every thought, every feeling, like a lighthouse guiding us through the vast ocean of life. Just like the way classic figures like Moses, Elijah, Samuel, Joseph, and Paul were guided, we too are invited to live a life in pursuit of spiritual values, where every moment lived is lit by the light of faith, nurtured through deep contemplation and recorded with humility and gratitude for the guidance God has given. In those moments when we feel an undying faith, a comfort that comes from within, we realize that nothing is more precious than living by God's guidance, living in sacred connection with the Creator, no matter where we are, no matter how fast time passes. Those stories, whether from the distant past or from modern-day experiences, all bring us profound lessons about perseverance, about belief in the goodness of human nature, and about the power of forgiveness and unconditional love. Values that only by listening to and living by the divine voice of God can we truly feel. And when we share together, when we remember those stories together, we are not only inspired, but also encouraged to keep walking the path of faith. A path that, no matter how many hardships, no matter how many trials, will eventually lead us to a fulfilling life. A life blessed by the love and the never-fading guidance of the Creator. Through that, every story told, every account of Samuel, Joseph, Paul, and modern believers like our friends, gradually forms a complete picture of a strong faith. A belief that the voice of God is always alive, always powerful, and always a source of motivation, helping us overcome every challenge in life, leading us to peace and eternal happiness. When we open our hearts to receive those stories, we not only hear them, but also feel them, live with every teaching of God, every emotion of faith, and every sign of divine presence, like a spiritual symphony, where every note contributes to the melody of a life full of hope and love. And so, through every story retold, we are even more convinced that, even if the world changes, even if material temptations try to dim the light of the soul, the voice of God, with all its humility, gentleness, and power, is always the guiding torch, always the inspiration for us to live a truthful life, a life not only for ourselves, but also for the community of believers, for those around us, because only through love, through forgiveness, and through unwavering faith can we truly realize that this life, with all its challenges, hardships, and moments of despair, always has a guiding light, a divine voice from the Creator, calling us to live a fulfilling life, to live a meaningful life, rising above all adversities of time and space. Under the light of faith and divine guidance, we gradually realize that it is not merely about listening to the voice of God through vague thoughts or prophetic dreams, but also about training the soul, building a spiritual space where we can practice specific steps to always receive the Word of God in every moment of life. When walking on the spiritual path, we need to focus our whole mind, concentrate on the noble values of the Bible, and open our hearts to create a sacred space where all the noise, all the worries of life are cast aside, making room for the divine presence of the Creator. First, we need to build the habit of spending time praying regularly and intentionally, not just words echoing in the temporary space of the mind, but a sincere, profound communication with God. As the teaching of Jeremiah 33:3 says, "Call to me, and I will answer you, and will tell you great and hidden things that you have not known." In those moments, when we abandon the rush of the times, we will feel the tenderness of the divine whisper, guiding us through the decisive steps of life. This not only helps us find inner peace, but also serves as the foundation for us to receive the instructions, the precious pieces from God, sent through each thought, each emotion. Alongside prayer, we need to set a daily schedule for meditation and reading the Bible, because it is through contemplating His teachings that we will strengthen our spiritual ears to distinguish the voice of God from the echoes of the mind, the temptations of the world, or the trivial thoughts of human instinct. Imagine that every time we open the Bible, we are turning on a small lamp to guide the way, illuminating even the darkest paths. Every word, every teaching of His is not just lines printed on paper, but vibrant pieces helping us construct the complete picture of a fulfilled life, where every thought and action is directed by love, forgiveness, and steadfast faith. To make listening to the divine voice more effective, we need to learn how to write down our experiences through a spiritual journal, where every thought, every dream, or unusual feeling is recorded as a bulletin from God, helping us track and recognize repeating signs, spiritual codes, through which we can see His intervention and guidance in each ordinary moment. This journaling practice not only provides us with a reference document to reflect on our growth, but also serves as living proof that even as time passes, the voice of God always exists, bringing us hope and comfort, as promised in Psalm 195, "Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path." At the same time, participating in communities of believers, prayer groups, or spiritual experience sharing sessions also plays an indispensable role in the process of training the ability to hear the voice of God. When we are in contact with those who share the same faith, we are not only encouraged and share vivid experiences, but also receive confirmation from those with enlightened souls on how to discern between guiding words and voices that confuse us. Through that, each gathering becomes a spiritual practice class, where we discuss, listen, and learn the secrets of recognizing the divine voice, thereby strengthening our faith and building a united, strong, and love-filled community. Furthermore, living in obedience and practicing the teachings of God is also the way to expand our spiritual ears. Remember, as stated in John 14:15, "If you love me, you will keep my commandments." Practicing those teachings not only helps us receive guidance, but is also the way to maintain a close relationship with the Creator, so that whenever we face difficult decisions or life's temptations, we will always remember that the voice of God, even gentle, even just subtle signs, is always a powerful source of motivation, helping us overcome all challenges. Besides, eliminating external distractions is also an indispensable factor for us to be able to listen clearly. In the modern world, where technology, media, and surrounding noise always lurk, we need to know how to turn off those noises, creating honest, quiet moments so the soul can rest and receive messages from Him. This requires high determination and discipline, knowing that only when our minds are purified can we recognize the whispers of God amid the countless echoes of life. Try setting aside a few minutes each day in a quiet space without distractions, only you and the presence of God. It could be a small corner in your home, a peaceful park, or even a hidden corner by the riverside, where you can immerse yourself in silence, listen, and feel every heartbeat, every thought, every emotion filled with meaning. When we do that, we will realize that, not only during prayer but also in the undefined moments of life, God is always ready to send us subtle signs, as a reminder that no matter how busy we are, no matter how life's difficulties may lead us astray, He is always beside us, guiding us to walk the path of truth and love. And through each experience, through each time we test our ability to listen, we affirm even more that Training the ability to recognize the voice of God is not just a spiritual act, but also an art of living, a continuous process of growth, of nurturing the soul, and of gradually realizing that every thought, every emotion, no matter how small, can be His message. If we know how to open our hearts, know how to listen, and know how to identify. You may remember times in your life when everything around suddenly became silent, and in that moment, amid quiet contemplation, you felt a warm feeling, a deep faith that this is the voice of God calling me to move forward. That is living proof that even if the world changes, even if time passes, divine guidance from the Creator always exists, always serves as an endless source of motivation, helping us overcome challenges, helping us find ourselves and move toward a future full of hope and meaning. Therefore, let each passing day not just be meaningless moments, but a journey in which every thought, every action is shaped by faith, by love, and by divine guidance. Let your life become a beautiful symphony of spiritual values, where each note resonates with the voice of God, where you not only hear but also feel, not only live but also inspire those around you. And when you realize that, listening to the voice of God is not only a spiritual duty, but also an honor to live in the light of love, of forgiveness, and of undying faith, you will know that every action, every decision, no matter how small, can create miracles, changing your life and the lives of others. Open your heart, create quiet spaces in your life so you can hear the subtle whispers of the Creator, and let each prayer, each moment of meditation become a bridge between you and the divine presence, between the human mind and the endless source of faith. Through that, not only will you be blessed, but the community around you will also feel the power of love and guidance from above, helping each person, wherever they are, no matter how many hardships they face, to find their faith again, to live fully, and to be guided by the divine voice of God, the voice that, if we know how to listen, will forever lead us on the path of truth, of love, and of eternal hope. Under the light of all that has been shared and experienced, we gradually realize that through every step on the journey of faith, each believer is granted a divine promise, that the voice of God, whether gentle as a whisper or powerful as thunder, is always a source of guidance, a source of comfort, and a source of eternal hope. Looking back on the journey through the stories of Samuel, Joseph, Paul, and even our own modern experiences, we see that the message he conveys is not merely a teaching of the past, but also a calling to live fully in the present. A reminder that each human being is created to live in the light of love, of forgiveness, and of sincere faith. Through every page of the Bible, through every quiet moment within the heart, we learn that listening to the voice of God is not simply a spiritual act, but also an art of living, a continuous process of self-awareness and growth. When we pour our whole minds into prayer, meditation, and reading His teachings, we not only open up our spiritual ears, but also realize that, amid countless temptations, amid the noise of modern life, only He can bring us freedom, peace, and a faith that never fades. This leads us to a profound realization that every thought, every emotion is a gift from the Creator, gentle yet powerful signals that help us navigate our path, even when we may be led astray by voices of doubt or fear. Therefore, distinguishing between His voice and the voice of the enemy or of our own selves becomes the key to living a fulfilled life. A life not merely based on fleeting emotions, but shaped by enduring values of love, of forgiveness, and of faith in the eternal presence of the Creator. Looking at that whole picture, we realize that even when life is full of challenges, even when we feel stuck, in every silent moment, every second of self-reflection, there is always a divine calling resounding, a promise that, I am here, I am always with you. It is not only a calling to live, but also a commitment that each of us, if we know how to listen, will never be alone on this arduous journey. And with that realization, the conclusion is not merely a summary of past lessons, but also a call to action for every soul longing for truth. Let each passing day not be merely meaningless quiet moments, but moments dedicated to prayer, to reading the Bible, and to recording our own experiences through which we can look back and recognize signs of divine presence, pieces of a complete picture of faith. Remember, when we are determined to live according to the guidance of God, we are not only blessed with comfort, but also with the source of motivation to spread love to those around us. To build a united community of believers, where every heart is given wings to soar through the Word of God. Just as John 14:15 reminds us, "If you love me, you will keep my commandments." Let us turn those teachings into concrete actions in daily life. From simply helping others, from forgiving small mistakes, to courageously facing life's great challenges. That is the way for us not only to listen, but to live according to the divine calling, turning each of our actions into a beautiful symphony of faith, of love, and of hope. And when we look back on the journey that has passed, we will realize that no matter how many times we have stumbled, no matter how many trials have caused us to lose our direction, it is perseverance, faith, and love that have helped us overcome all, brought us to a warm atmosphere where forgiveness and the presence of God always exist. Let each of us, from this moment on, remind ourselves, "I will always open my heart to listen to the voice of the Creator. I will seek and live according to His Word, no matter what difficulties may lie ahead." Let us turn moments of prayer, moments of meditation, and quiet pauses into a solid foundation for life, so that every decision, every step we take is always blessed, always reflects the spirit of the faith we hold dear. And finally, as we walk together on that path, remember that the voice of God is never dry teachings or scattered words, but is always expressed through loving actions, through sincere gestures, and through the spreading of faith in every heart. That is the final message we need to hold on to. That each one of us, wherever we are, in whatever circumstances, always has the opportunity to hear and live according to the divine voice, to turn this life into a meaningful journey, filled with love and with hope for a better future. A future in which the love of God will forever be the guiding light, the eternal strength that surpasses all limits of time and space. Let that voice become the driving force for each of us, to keep striving, to keep growing, and to keep spreading the light of faith to those who need it. And in that way, with every step, with every prayer, we gradually make this life more meaningful, more beautiful, and more complete in the light of the divine love that only God can give.